Amy. In the driver's seat. But she wasn't alone. A man sat beside her, his hand resting too comfortably on her thigh. I stopped breathing. The footage played on, a silent witness to a betrayal I never saw coming. Amy's lips curled into a smile, her fingers grazing his wrist in a way that sent fire through my veins. She leaned toward him, whispering something I couldn't hear. He laughed, tilting his head, his mouth brushing against her ear. My pulse pounded, a deafening roar in my ears. My wife, was with another man. And worse. She looked happy. Greg shifted uncomfortably beside me, clearing his throat. You okay, man? I blinked, swallowing the lump in my throat. Who the hell is he? Greg hesitated. Not sure, but that ain't how a married woman should act. No, it sure as hell wasn't. I exhaled sharply, my fingers tightening around my phone. The video wasn't even finished. My heart hammered as I skipped forward, needing to know just how deep this went. The next frame hit me like a fist to the gut. The car was parked now, somewhere unfamiliar. Amy's hands were on his shirt, fingers curling into the fabric as she pulled him closer. Their lips met, slow at first, then urgent. My stomach twisted as he grabbed her waist, hoisting her onto his lap. I looked away, bile rising in my throat. Greg muttered something under his breath, shaking his head. Man, I don't even know what to say. Neither did I. I forced myself to keep watching, even as every fiber of my being screamed at me to stop. Amy tilted her head back, exposing her neck as he traced kisses down her skin. Her nails dug into his shoulders. The look on her face, pure bliss, pure desire, was one I hadn't seen in years. I clenched my jaw, my knuckles white around the phone. This wasn't some mistake. This wasn't an innocent interaction misinterpreted by a camera angle. She was cheating. Blatantly. Shamelessly. And I had the proof sitting in the palm of my hand. Greg sighed, rubbing a hand down his face. What are you gonna do? I inhaled deeply, steadying myself. I don't know yet, I admitted. But she sure as hell won't see it coming. That night, I barely spoke to Amy. She moved around the house like nothing had happened, humming softly while making dinner, scrolling through her phone on the couch, occasionally glancing up with a smile. It made me sick. I sat across from her at the dinner table, forcing food past the lump in my throat. My mind kept replaying the footage, her lips on him, the way she melted under his touch. You're quiet tonight, she noted, spearing a piece of chicken with her fork. Everything okay? I lifted my gaze, staring at the woman I thought I knew. The woman who had vowed to love only me. Just tired, I lied, offering a tight smile. She nodded, oblivious. Long day. Something like that. Amy returned to her meal, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I needed more than the video. I needed undeniable, inescapable proof, something she couldn't twist or talk her way out of. That night, while she slept, I slipped out of bed and grabbed her phone. Face recognition unlocked it easily. My hands were steady as I scrolled through her messages, expecting to find the usual conversations with friends and family. But then I saw it. A thread with Jason, our neighbor. The same Jason I had seen in the footage. My stomach turned. I opened the chat, eyes scanning the messages. Amy, can't stop thinking about earlier. I swear I can still feel you on me. Jason, wish we had more time. You were incredible today. When's the next chance? Amy, tomorrow. Same place. Same time. A choked breath left my throat. Tomorrow. They weren't just screwing around. They had plans. They were meeting again. I locked her phone and placed it back, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was all the confirmation I needed. Tomorrow, I wouldn't go to work. Tomorrow, I would catch them in the act. And when I did, Amy would never see me the same way again. Morning arrived, and Amy acted like any other day. She kissed me on the cheek, murmured something about running errands, then grabbed the keys to my car, the same one where her betrayal had unfolded. I forced a smile, watching her leave, knowing exactly where she was headed. The moment she pulled out of the driveway, I grabbed my spare keys and followed. My heart pounded as I kept a safe distance, weaving through traffic while Amy remained completely unaware. She didn't stop at the grocery store. She didn't stop for coffee. She drove straight to the same motel. The sight of her pulling into the parking lot made my grip on the steering wheel tighten. I parked across the street, far enough not to be seen but close enough to witness everything. My pulse pounded as Jason's car pulled up moments later. Amy stepped out first, smiling, her excitement evident. Jason followed, grinning like he had won the lottery. I watched, seething, as he wrapped his arm around her waist. They kissed right there in the open, her hands tangling in his hair, his fingers trailing down her spine. I gritted my teeth. How long had this been going on? How many times had she done this while I was at work, believing she was at home waiting for me? They disappeared inside together. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone. I had the location. I had the time. Now I just needed the perfect moment. I wasn't just going to confront them. I was going to ruin them. An hour passed. I could only imagine what was happening behind that door, but soon I wouldn't have to. I stepped out of my car and crossed the street, heart hammering against my ribs. The motel clerk barely glanced at me as I strode past. Stopping outside room 214, I inhaled sharply. This was it. I kicked the door open. Amy screamed, scrambling to cover herself with the sheets. Jason sat up, wide-eyed, his face paling as he saw me. "What the hell?" he shouted, fumbling for his pants. Amy's gaze locked onto mine, her lips trembling. I can explain. Explain. I laughed coldly, stepping inside. I don't need an explanation, Amy. I have everything I need. I held up my phone, recording every shameful second. Jason cursed, reaching for me, but I stepped back. Touch me, and this goes straight to your wife. His body stiffened. That's right. I knew. Amy covered her mouth, her eyes welling with tears. Please don't. I ignored her, staring directly into the camera. Say hello to the world, Amy, I said. Your 15 minutes of shame starts now. Her face drained of color. She knew. She had lost everything. And I had just begun. Amy collapsed onto the bed, her face twisted in sheer panic. Jason stood frozen, his pants still halfway on, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. I kept my phone steady, capturing every ounce of their shame. Amy, do you have anything to say? I asked, my voice eerily calm. Maybe an explanation for why you've been sneaking off like this? She shook her head violently. Please, just stop recording. We can talk about this. I made a mistake, but we can fix it. I laughed. Fix it? Jason ran a hand through his messy hair. Look, man, I didn't mean for this to happen. You didn't mean for this to happen? I repeated, raising an eyebrow. So, what? You just tripped and fell onto my wife. Jason had nothing to say to that. Amy reached for my arm. I still love you. I pulled away, my skin crawling at her touch. Love. I let out a hollow laugh. You don't even know the meaning of the word. She started sobbing, but I wasn't moved. Not anymore. I took a deep breath. Here's what's going to happen, I said, my voice even. You're going to pack your things when you get home. You're going to leave. And you're not going to fight me on the divorce. Her breath hitched. No, please. You made this choice, Amy, I said, my tone sharp. And now, you live with it. I turned to Jason, who was still standing there like an idiot. And you? Well, your wife's about to get this video too. His face went pale. No. I smirked, tapping my phone screen. Too late. The file was already sent. Amy let out a broken sob, burying her face in her hands. Jason cursed under his breath, reaching for his phone, knowing his life was about to implode. I took one last look at them, pathetic, broken, drowning in their own betrayal. Then, without another word, I walked out the door. Days later, I sat on my couch, divorce papers in front of me. Amy had signed them without a fight, too ashamed to try and bargain. Jason's wife had kicked him out, and rumor had it he was sleeping in his car. Poetic justice. I took a sip of my drink, lighter than I had felt in years. Betrayal hurt, but freedom? That was worth everything. And as I looked out at the city lights, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't the end for me. It was just the beginning. The end.